Welcome, Square Fellowship. It is I, Square Man, and today we are back with another movie review. And that movie will be the newest Marvel movie, Shang-Chi. So let's get right into it. Let me preface this by saying that the majority of this review will be spoiler free. If any spoiler parts do come up, I'll give a warning or a timestamp to skip to. For those of you who haven't watched the movie, which I would recommend to watch, it is really good. But yeah, first let's start off with a brief spoiler-free summary of the movie. So to start the film, we are introduced into the bad guy who participates in villainous activity. After obtaining godlike rings that gives him eternal life and all power, he does just that and uses the rings to obtain power in a very tyrannical way. But you know what would stop any villain from achieving their ultimate evil goal? You guessed it, that's right, love. After our main villain falls in love with a woman from a mysterious land, he goes on to then have two children, a son and a daughter. The son being Shang-Chi, or rather Sean as he goes by in America, and he will be the protagonist of the story who will follow along. As we take a quick shift to present day, we see that Shang-Chi or Shan now is a valet driver along with his insert funny sidekick friend Katie. His rather simple lifestyle takes a turn for the worse when he finds out that his dad is after him and his sister. For what reason, that is for you to find out. After reuniting with his sister, Shang-Chi now has to stop his villainous father from doing villainous deeds. Alright, Square people. So I try to keep that little brief review as spoiler free as possible. But now I'd like to touch on some things that make the movie unique and that I particularly, I said that right, enjoyed about the movie. So obviously, this movie had its fair share of references to Chinese culture. For example, in the movie, Shang-Chi's mother and aunt use a fighting style called Tai Chao. Um, there's also reference to Chinese guardian lions, which, after doing my research, I've heard is a big thing in Chinese culture. And dragons, of course, because dragons are super cool. And I'm dragging these. One of my favorite components about this movie is the fighting choreography. Now, I don't know much about fighting, but you can see in the fight scenes, it seems like no movement is wasted. It seems like there is definitely intention with every move that is made. No, like nothing just to look pretty, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, it looks good. But yeah, I feel like especially compared to some of the other Marvel films I've seen, the fighting was just really on point with this one. I would also like to point out the music, especially in one certain scene later in the film. Don't want to describe the scene because it might give away a spoiler, but when the bad guy comes onto the scene and the music that plays in the background, it's just awesome. Really, it's really good. Also, in terms of things I really enjoyed in the film, I'd like to point out Shang-Chi's character arc. Um, not to get spill the beans or whatever, but I'm a sucker for self-acceptance character arcs, and I think that they don't overdo it. I think they take a simple approach, but they do it really well, and I really enjoyed his character, especially by the end of the film. All right, you squares. So I had to interrupt the video because we are reaching spoiler territory. Yes. So if you haven't watched the movie, you don't want spoilers. Click the timestamp ab- above, and yeah. All right. So later in the movie, for those who have watched, Shang-Chi does receive the 10 rings that his father used for, I think, 1,000 years is what they said in the end, or how long he said his father had him, but apparently it's been around longer than that, but I'll touch on that later. But at first I didn't want Shang-Chi to receive the 10 rings because his father's the bad guy or whatever. But then I realized that him receiving the rings and using them, it kind of symbolizes him embracing both his mother and his father's side, which is a topic that's mentioned regularly. through the story is, you know, him accepting who he is. And I think him taking the rings is him, you know, accepting who his father was, what he's done in the past, and who and his mother's side as well. And it's him coming together and becoming his own character. So I think him receiving the Ten Rings was a good thing, which I previously would have thought would have been a bad thing. And for those of you who stayed for the post-credit scene, which I assume all of you did because it is a Marvel movie, but we find the fact that there's something special, you know, already from the fact that they have superpowers that these rings have, as they've been around for longer than Shang-Chi's father had them, and Captain Marvel and Bruce Banner both mentioned how they hadn't seen anything like these rings before. Also, sort of an unofficial invitation to the Avengers to Shang-Chi at the end when old dude mentions that they have a tough road ahead. So yeah. All right, square ladies and gentlemen. That's gonna wrap up the video there. Great movie. Would definitely suggest to watch. Um, Hot Square Man take of the day. Probably the best Marvel film since Endgame. But yeah, like, comment, and subscribe for more. I hope to do more movie reviews like this. I did them in the past. They had a little bit of success. Brief hiatus, but you know, things have been busy lately, trying to upload more regularly. But yeah, like I said, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.